Feminism isn't needed in the Western world.
I do not need it if I had a box. I would not need it if I had a fox. I don't need feminism in my house. I wouldn't need feminism if I had a mouse. I do not need feminism here or there. I do not need it anywhere. So please, Onision, can't you see? I don't need feminism. So leave me be.
Or so that's what a lot of you fucking idiots keep saying.
Is that supposed to be Deadpool or something? No, I was gonna say Deathstroke, but then I remember Deathstroke's missing an eye. You know what? I think that's a Spawn mask. I could be wrong though.
If you are an anti-feminist, you might want to click away from this video because you're about to get fucking decimated.
By a guy in a Spawn mask?
Feminism is the advocacy of women's rights on the grounds of political, social, and economic equality to men. Keyword, equality. Now, the reason I have to point this out is because people say stupid shit like egalitarianism is better than feminism, even though it's basically the same thing.
You know, if it is basically the same thing, I really don't understand why feminists just can't be happy with egalitarians. If you all want the same thing,
Both call for equal rights. But for some fucking reason, despite the fact that they're basically the same thing, you guys can't get over the fact that it starts out with fem, as in female. The word defined starts with fem. For some fucking reason, your brain just turns off after that point.
you know, in all actuality, for a movement that talks about inclusion all the time, you would think that feminists would understand exactly why people wouldn't want to be feminists, right? Egalitarian would be much more inclusive, wouldn't it?
Someone saying the literal definition of feminism doesn't have meaning. And here's where you get fucking wrecked.
Pause. I've noticed nowadays a lot of people like to toss out the word wrecked all the time when they think that they've made a good point. But really, when you wreck someone, or at least how I've always understood it, was when you put them on the hush mouth. In other words, when they didn't have anything to say. When you wreck someone, it's you totally crippled them or insulted them or defeated their argument to such a degree that they cannot say anything. They have no choice but to accept what has just happened to them. They've got no choice but to accept what you said was true. That is when someone has been wrecked. And lots of people, you can't really wreck someone in a YouTube video because they're not actually talking to each other. Now, unless your friend was sitting next to you and then you gave them the truth and they just kind of shut the fuck up for a couple seconds, then you can say the person was wrecked. But in a YouTube video, I mean, you could say anything and it's 6 ways to Sunday. The person can't really defend themselves at that point in time, right? So you can't really wreck anyone because it's pre-recorded, dumbass.
This is the definition, and the main argument people have against it is that feminists do not follow this definition. So I ran a fucking poll, and over 1,000 people voted. 69% of feminists believe that women are equal to men. So the mass majority of feminists follow the fucking definition of feminism, and your main argument against feminism is that feminists don't fit the definition.
Now, I've seen a couple of video responses to this video Onision is doing. A lot of people would stop and argue there and talk about how it's statistic. They would say that poll that he did on the internet would not prove his point. It's bad statistics or anything like that. Because he only polled the people of his audience, he would get the result that he wanted. A lot of stuff. Or that he's stupid because he believes that his one internet poll would prove his point. Well, I'm not going to go to that road because, one, his poll accurately shows exactly why I do not like statistics. Because I remember Mr. Epsilon did a poll too, and he got the exact opposite results. And so then the question would ask, I mean, who's right, Repsion or Onision? And that's the issue with statistics. You oftentimes can always find one statistic that contradicts the other, and then the question goes, which one is right? The truth is they're both right. And since they're both right, they're both useless because they both represent contradictory things. It just goes to show that depending on your population or depending on your sample, you can get different results because people are different. And the only way you could accurately reflect how everyone feels is to poll everyone, and no one wants to poll people. They only want to poll sample sizes, which is why I don't trust statistics. It only shows that people polled in that area believe something. It doesn't show that everyone does. Now, that being said, there is still a bit of a problem, specifically with what Onision showed us, and that's his results. He actually showed that only 69% believed in what he said. Now, let's assume that the 31% of people were not joking. Now, they actually believed one was superior and one was inferior. Okay, so you have 69% of 121 equals 372.31, but I'm just going to round down. So 372. 829. So 829 people polled believe that feminism represents equality. Now we have a much bigger issue here, because then the question must be asked, what exactly do they mean by equality? Because if they mean they have to elevate women up to men's stature, they've already lost the plot. Because over here in reality, women already have not only equal rights to men, but in some cases more power than men do. Considering that women have the power of life and death, and can simply kill their child for whatever reason they wish, as long as it's still in their womb. Now, I'm not arguing whether or not it's wrong or right. What I am arguing is that that is an incredible amount of power, and let us not pretend that it's not. When you get to choose who gets to reproduce, you've got a lot of power. So let's stop acting like abortion is not an incredibly powerful thing that women have under their control.
You see feminazis, which are extremists, and your fucktard brain mixes that up with regular feminists.
You know, to tell you the truth, I find it a gigantic waste of time to ever address any extremist of any ideology. And the reason why is because it doesn't prove that the ideology is wrong. It just proves that extremism is wrong. It just proves that taking anything to an extreme is a bad thing. It doesn't prove that the actual ideology and principle is a problem. So I actually specifically only address moderates, or the best of feminists, or at least I hope are the best of feminists, or the ones that feminists like to represent them. I pick them because if I can show fundamentally the issues with feminism, not with extreme people, because again, anything in its extremities is a bad thing, then I think I can accurately show why it's a problem.
That's on your inferior intelligence. It has nothing to do with actual reality. Your problem is you prioritize your closed-minded personal experiences over the fucking truth. If the literal facts don't match your personal experiences, you fucking ignore them. And
oh, you mean the problem is that they're people in Onision? Yeah, that's a people thing. Yeah, people do that. I'm not surprised. Sit here and imply that it's only anti-feminists who don't accept reality when it's given to them is bullshit. And that's a people thing. And let's not pretend that you don't do it yourself, okay? Can we stop acting like that? Thank you.
that is why in this moment you should be humiliated.
Bro, in high school, I told a girl I was in love with her, and she just looked at me. She didn't even say anything. If you think that this is humiliating, you're gonna have to do a lot better than that, Braham.
Ever standing against feminists, the mass majority of which have literally been supporting exactly the fucking message I've been arguing all this time. And because I know you're so fucking stupid, even now that you've been proven wrong, you still won't admit your defeat in the fucking comments. Because that's the type of fucking person you are.
No, maybe it's just that you're a really arrogant twat, and you've done a really piss poor job of proving your point.
You're a fucking scumbag liar who doesn't care about the truth, only their personal agenda, against a group of people they don't even fucking understand. You say feminism is not needed in the Western world.
Well, actually, I said feminism is not needed here or there. It's not needed anywhere. That includes the Middle East, by the way. I truly believe that. And in all honesty, I actually think it's a absolutely hilarious thing when people say that. Feminism is needed in the Middle East. Yeah, like those women out in the Middle East are ever going to say, no matter how horrible they're treated, they need men like a fish needs a bicycle. Yeah, no, they never would. They may not like being dressed in hijabs, but they're not stupid enough to think that they don't need men, especially not in that desolate wasteland that is the Middle East, especially not with all the wars that are going on. So no, feminism would absolutely not be helpful to anybody in the Middle East. If anything, it would just cripple them even further. Just saying. Actually, no. While I continue what I was just saying, feminism has effectively shown to only work in prosperous areas. In areas where women don't need men, so they obtain the arrogance needed in order to believe that they don't need them. Just saying. Continue.
This is one explanation of what the Western world is, and here's a map if that wasn't clear enough. We're talking Australia, Canada, United States, UK, etc. Speaking of the UK, according to this, women still cannot serve on the front lines. That is not equality. And
yeah, sure, you're right, but I mean, men are forced to serve on the front lines or forced to go into the military if the government says they must. That's not equality. Oh, yeah, that's right. See, it's only a problem when it hurts women. It's not an issue when it hurts men. It's not even a word can be spoken about selective service. No, not a thought about the draft. Not at all. Nope, it's only a problem when it affects women. And in all honesty, I don't even think it's a good idea to let women fight in the front lines anyway. On account of, on average, they're smaller than men, they're weaker than men, they're slower than men, their bone mass isn't as dense as men, their endurance isn't as high as men's are. It's just not a good idea. Especially not a good idea when you have to reduce the standards of which women have to be, or we reduce the number of pull-ups, or some of them don't even have to pull up. Now they just have to do pull-up hole, and that's easy. I'm not even in the fucking military, and I can do that. So that's the standard of women you have on the front lines. Women who just got to hold themselves for 3 seconds. If that's the case, that's actually more of an argument as to why women shouldn't be on the front lines, because they can't even compete with men. So if that hurts your feelings, I'm sorry, but children growing up without their fathers hurts my feelings. Are you talking about that, Onision? Are you doing anything about that? No? Alright, then shut the fuck up.
That calls for feminism. Apparently, some people have tried to oppress women by implying men should pay less for healthcare than women.
And I don't really know what you're referring to, or what you're referring about, so I'm just... Okay, continue.
Another example of why we in the Western fucking world need feminism. The US women's soccer team gets paid disgustingly less than the US male soccer team. And this is exceptionally odd because according to this article, their most recent World Cup was the most watched soccer game in American television history. And if they're getting more views, they should at least get equal fucking pay. This is why we need feminism in the Western fucking world.
Onision, except that's only a half-truth. See, because while that may be true, that in that one instance, the number of views peaked for women, the soccer teams get paid based on the amount of consistent views that they get. So since men's views are consistently higher, it doesn't matter if women peak them at that one point in time, because men on a consistent basis get more people to watch them. And that's why they don't get paid the same amount. And you want to know something interesting, Onision? That is equality. Men and women being judged on the same standard. And since men are better, they get more.
Apparently in Texas, maxi pads and tampons were being confiscated before people could enter a courthouse, but for some fucking reason, people could still hold on to their goddamn guns.
Well, it's probably because their goddamn guns protected them. And I guess maxi pads and tampons protected women from making a mess. And they figured one was more important than the other, right? Because it is. I would say guns are much more important than tampons. You know, you can't really prevent much with a tampon other than the flow of blood coming out of your vagina. And also, I have to say this: if we're going to be fair, Onision, a lot of Texas state legislators thought that was odd too, and they immediately corrected that problem. So here you are again with the half-truth. I'm not sure why they collected them in the first place, but I don't really see why you need feminism for this anyway. Considering that, again, the Texas state legislators fixed that problem on their own.
Are you fucking hearing me, anti-feminists? You are so fucking wrong. It's pathetic, and I hope at the very least embarrassing for you.
And that's the nigga wearing a Spawn mask.
Another marvelous point. As far as health insurance goes, a ridiculous amount of people object to women getting drugs related to their reproductive system, and yet when men want drugs related to the reproductive system, it's completely fucking fine. Individuals literally protest against things like birth control being covered by insurance, but not vasectomies and penile implants. Yeah.
Well, I have to say this, Onision. When you take things into consideration, on both accounts, the vasectomies and the penile implant, they only require a one-time stop. You go in and out, right? Well, not really. You spend hours there, but you get my point. It only takes one day. Whereas birth control pills is something that must be applied on a consistent monthly basis. Paid for monthly. I mean, you have to take it every single day. So, when you measure those two things out, where one, it probably costs less over time and isn't consistently paid for, while the other is, I actually think it kind of makes sense. That being said, though, a lot of doctors won't even perform vasectomies on a lot of men without permission from their wives. don't see feminism talking about that. And even more to the point here, I mean, if women, I find this is such, I know a lot of people bring it up, but it's such a great point. I mean, like, you say you don't want the government in your uterus, but you want them to pay for your birth control? I mean, seriously, on all honesty, if you really don't want to have children, you can just not have Continue.
Us anti-feminists, there is no need for feminists in the Western world, is there?
No. If you can just buy your own birth control.
Despite the fucking obvious inequalities. In this country, we allow rapists to sue for custody. And
No. No, I think it's more a loophole than we actually let rapists sue for custody. I think it's more if he hasn't been convicted for rape, I mean, the law wouldn't consider him a rapist, and so he can sue for custody. Although, I mean, how often does that happen, for one, and for two, how easy is it to win that case when he's a fucking rapist? It's not even a challenge at that point. All you have to do is prove that he raped somebody, and like he's not gonna get custody of his children. I mean, come on.
as you may know, the majority of rapes are committed by men against women. This is an example of a rapist being able to sue the fucking victim. And this is why we need fucking feminism in the Western fucking world.
Yeah, when he's gonna lose that sue 100% of the time on account of he's a rapist, yeah, no, I don't think you need feminism for that. I think the court system will hand wave that away. I mean, you seriously think that a court system that won't even let fathers who have raised their children for years get their children after a divorce would let a rapist get their child after they raped a woman? First of all, how is he not even in jail if he's a convicted rapist? How wouldn't he be on a sexual assault list? I'm not sexual assault, but sexual predator list? He would. He would have to. He'd have no choice but to sign it for it because he's a rapist. That's an open and shut book case. There's nothing to worry about. Not unless the person hasn't been convicted of rape, and thus, then that's what you need to do. And considering the fact that it's a man suing for custody against a woman, and the court systems are pretty biased in women's favor, yeah, no, you don't really need feminism for that. The woman's gonna win 10 out of 10 times, considering he's a rapist.
The definition of slut itself specifically states that only a woman can be considered a slut. You know goddamn well that in our Western society, if a man sleeps around with women, he is far better treated than when a woman sleeps around with many men. You know for a fact this is fucking true. And this is why we need feminism in the fucking Western world. You know?
Yeah, no, that is true, but as I have said many times, point one, if you are a slut, it's a point of fact. And I know a lot of people say it, but it has a negative connotation and it hurts their feelings. And to that I must reply, so? It doesn't stop them from having sex, does it? No. So you get called a slut. Is that going to prevent you from getting dick? No? Alright then, shut up. Done. I have just solved your problem. You have nothing to worry about now. Go get all the dick that you want. If that is the only barrier to you getting a bunch of dick, you have no fucking problems. It's just a word, it's just vibrations through the air. Oh, but I know what the real issue is here. I know what it is. Your problem is you want everything. You want to be a slut. You want to be promiscuous. You want to fuck every guy you see. But at the end of all that, you want to pick a man that's going to want to be with you for who you are on the inside. Am I right? Yeah, I know I'm right. And if that's the case, tough. I'm sorry. Those are the bricks.
You know that tradition in our society where a man is expected to ask the father for permission or his blessing to marry his fucking daughter?
Well, it's a good thing hardly anyone does that anymore. And even then, I mean, like, seriously, of all the things, does this really bother you? Like, really? This doesn't bother me, I don't care. Hardly anyone does it anyway.
And then the other tradition where the father has to walk the daughter down the aisle and hand his daughter off to the man she's going to marry. You don't ask the mom for permission. Why? Why is it portrayed as if the father owns his fucking daughter? This is why we need fucking feminism in the modern world. Because even our marital traditions are fucking sexist against women.
Does that really bother you all that much? I mean, it's not like men can ask women to not, get their child killed. I mean, I've heard many times, you've got no uterus, so you ain't got no opinion of whether or not your child even gets to breathe air. woman can simply kill your child off, and you say that it's her right because it's her body and all that jazz, and that bothers you none. But it bothers you that a man walks his daughter down the aisle so she can get married? I mean, of all the things, I mean, talk about mixed priorities, right? Again, I'm not arguing whether or not abortion is wrong or right, but the fact remains that women can get their child killed, and it's okay. Legally speaking, at least.
This is how religion is divided up in the United States. Do you notice a consistency? The most popular religions in the United States have specific texts blatantly oppressing women. And
oh, here we go. I would sing the theme song, the Keenan and Kel, but I don't know it. Continue.
The Bible, it specifically states that women were created for men. And
yeah, where man was created for God. So now what? What are we? Is that racist? Is it racist that God created man for him?
they say this fucked up shit. The head of every man is Christ. The head of every woman is the man.
You know, sometimes I wonder, is that really sexist against women? Or is it really sexist against men? I mean, once again, feminists always and forever view the amount of power and freedom that man has controlling that woman and shit. But never the thought that that man had to go and kill other animals and other men to keep her safe and fed. Not a thought. They don't even think about that. That man must give his life to that woman. But it's sexist against her! Okay.
Women learn in silence with all subjection. But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor usurp authority over the man. The Bible, the majority of Americans in the Western world, yet again telling women to shut the fuck up.
You know, I tell you the God honest truth. Every time I get done watching a Lacey Green video, I think that scripture has a little bit more of a point to it. You can clearly see I'm having a great degree of fun here at this portion, because I mean, this is all shit I've already heard. I used to watch atheist videos all the time. This isn't new stuff here.
If a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, and lay hold on her, and lie with her, then the man shall give unto the damsel fathers 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife. As you can see with other versions, it specifically states rape. So
yes, Onision. Except this, my friend, would be the beginning of the end, which would truly show the depths of ignorance that you have. Because point one, the word rape does not exist in the Hebrew language, and thus it is not possible to translate that scripture into if a man rapes a woman. There's no word that would describe that in that language. But that's just point number one. Continue.
if a guy rapes a girl, she's forced to marry him. This is the book the majority of Americans in the Western world support, and this is why we fucking need feminism in the Western world.
Alright, my friends, Clash is now in session. Now, the scripture he was referring to is in Deuteronomy. Go ahead and turn to that. It's actually Deuteronomy chapter 22 and verse 28. So let's read that. If a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, and lay hold on her, and lie with her, and they be found, then the man that lay with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he hath humbled her, and may not put her away all his days. Now, of course, as you say in the New International Version, you would read that as he raped her, which doesn't make any sense in context. Now you'd probably ask the question, what do you mean in context? Well, I would say this. The scripture that precedes verse 28 would be obviously 27. And it reads, For he found her in the field, and the betrothed damsel cried, and there was none to save her. Wait, what? What? Why would, you need some more context. Okay, let's read the scripture before that. But unto the damsel thou shalt do nothing. There is in the damsel no sin worthy of death, for as when a man rises against his neighbor, and slayeth him, even so is this matter. Wait, what? No sin worthy of death? I need some more context to that. Well, okay, let's read the preceding scripture, verse 25. But if a man find a betrothed damsel in the field, and the man force her, and lie with her, then the man only that lay with her shall die. Now that's peculiar. Why in the world, with 3 scriptures prior to this, would they not only say that only the man shall die, not only did the man force the woman, and the woman did not scream or cry out, and only the man should die, but in the woman there is no sin worthy of death? Well, the answer is pretty obvious, my viewer, because the preceding scriptures, specifically, and I'm not going to go over them, refer to what happens when a man and a woman have an affair, when a woman is married. Now, again, you'll see that there's a couple of words in verse 25 that specifically say, and the man force her. Now, why would it say that? Remember what I said in the last clip, how there is no word in the Hebrew language for rape, and so they couldn't say it. In fact, you'll notice in most ancient languages, they are not as extensive as English. In English, you have multiple words that can quite literally describe the same thing: pretty, beautiful, voluptuous, attractive. They didn't have that in ancient languages. In fact, that's why it's oftentimes really poetic. It wasn't poetic because they're much more intelligent than we are, although I'm pretty sure they were, but it's more poetic because it had to be. They had more similes because they needed them, because they couldn't effectively communicate information like we could. Which is why you'll find in that translation, in one verse, it specifically says, force her and lie with her, and then goes on to say only the man would die because he, well, raped her. But in the next verse, it says, take hold and lie with her, as in they had a relationship. They weren't married. And because he humbled his neighbor's daughter, took her virginity, it would not be a guarantee that the next man who had sex with her would be her father. Remember, in this time period, again, context being one of the most important things, niggas didn't have Maury Povich. And marriage was a system in order to regulate the responsibility a man had over his children. That's why he paid his father 50 shekels. In other words, viewers, as simple as this clip could have been, I needed to explain all of that, to come to the conclusion that that scripture was not referring to rape. It was referring to a secret relationship where the two people are having sex. I find it very interesting, to tell you the honest truth. All the people who spout logic and rationality never figured that out, but I understand why. It's because they didn't want to figure it out. Go ahead and wrap us up, Onision.
Now over 2,000 people have voted, and it looks like we're up to 73%. So I've proven that the majority of feminists believe in equality.
No, you haven't. You've proven that majority of the people that agree with you believe that feminism is for equality. And as I have said numerous times, you must only show them one example of which they will not try to bring or nerf the power that women have down to the same level of men to show that that is not the case.
Despite your obvious dumbass saying they don't, and I've also provided many examples of why we still need fucking feminism in the Western world.
All of which I have shown time and time again, you don't really need feminism because the system in place already fixes it.
So if you have any fucking decency, you can accept your defeat in the comments below, but I'm betting you won't, because you're a fucking disgraceful human being.
As the nigga wearing a Spawn mask.
Who likely cannot admit when you're wrong. So
you know what I wonder? I wonder how many atheists will watch the clip that I provided where I explained how that scripture is not referring to rape and would admit that they were wrong. I think that more than anything would go to show just how much people, and not really anti-feminists, don't like admitting when they have been proven incorrect. It's not an anti-feminist thing, Onision, it's a people thing.
So fuck you, you stupid piece of fucking shit!
So there you have it, guys. I know I said that I was only going to do the Onision trilogy where I respond to Onision 3 times, but a lot of people kept asking me to come back to Onision, and I was actually flabbergasted the amount of times people continuously requested that I do another video response to Onision. I was shocked to see people wanted me to discuss this guy again. But here I am at the end of another video, so I guess, well, what do we call this? Onision cycle? No, Onision whatever. yeah. So, that's the end of his video, and subsequently, the end of mine. I know we've been here for a while, but hopefully, you have enjoyed today's video. So with that being said, man, I certainly hope you guys enjoyed what I had to say today. And if you did, man, go ahead and click the like button. Yeah, shoot, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Comment in the comment box below, And as always, you guys have yourselves a great day. I will see you cool cats soon. Adios.